Imagine a world where an AI could watch a video of you and tell if you're developing a disease.
Hmm.
Or maybe analyze just a simple image to predict your risk of heart trouble.
Right.
Or even offer guidance for your mental well-being.
It sounds like science fiction, almost.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because that's not science fiction. That's the, rapidly advancing landscape of AI in healthcare we're exploring today.
Exactly. We're seeing just incredible momentum in applying artificial intelligence and machine learning across medicine.
Yeah.
It's not just like small improvements. We're talking about potentially fundamental shifts in how we approach health.
Right, fundamental shifts. So for this deep dive, we've sifted through a really fascinating collection of the latest medical research. Our goal is to understand how these technologies are tackling the big challenges, like, making diagnoses more accurate, treatments more effective.
And keeping our sensitive health information private, which is huge.
Absolutely, and making sense of just the sheer volume of medical data out there.
And the scope is, it's truly impressive. The research we've looked at covers everything from, like, the real cutting-edge quantum computing for secure AI.
Wow,
To
quantum.
really practical uses, like AI analyzing medical images or understanding clinical language.
Okay.
We're even looking at how multiple AI systems might work together to solve complex healthcare problems. Collaborative AI.
So your mission, should you choose to accept it, and you're already here, so you have,
Right, you're in.
is to get a clear understanding of the most vital insights from all this work. We want to cut through the technical jargon
Yeah, simplify it.
and really grasp the real-world impact of these advancements, plus the key hurdles and, the ethical side of things.
Considerations we need to keep front of mind.
Think of this as your express route to understanding the forefront of AI in healthcare. So with such a broad field, where should we even begin?
Well, I think a really foundational concern, especially as healthcare leans more on cloud services, is privacy and security.
Always comes up.
Always. How do we protect our health data within these AI systems? And what's interesting are the novel strategies researchers are developing.
Okay, yeah, like 𝗏𝗏 and Filippo Caruso. They looked into this with something called a privacy-preserving neutral atom-based quantum classifier.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that, Mel.
Please do. Let's try to make it tangible.
Right.
They've essentially taken a common AI model for classification
And SVM, yeah.
and figured out how to run it on a specific type of quantum computer, one using neutral atoms.
Exactly. And the key innovation, the reason this matters for privacy,
Uh-huh.
is that by adapting the model for this quantum processor, your sensitive medical data doesn't actually have to leave the local environment.
Okay. So it stays put.
Right. Imagine keeping your most personal info within the hospital's, let's say, digital walls, instead of sending it out to some remote server.
Yeah, that feels much safer.
𝗏𝗏 and Caruso showed this is feasible. They tested it with simulations and even on a real neutral atom quantum computer using a breast cancer dataset.
On real data.
Yeah, it hints at a future where we can use powerful AI without the sort of inherent privacy risks of sending data across the internet.
So the crunching happens locally, keeping things much more secure. Okay. Now, stepping away from quantum for a sec, what about when multiple AI systems collaborate? That sounds like another potential privacy issue.
Precisely.
Hmm.
You have different AI agents talking to each other, maybe querying large language models, interacting with users.
Lots of moving parts.
There's definitely a risk that sensitive data could get exposed accidentally. 𝗔𝗃𝗏 and their team tackled this with their safeguard by development idea. They call it MERIS.
Marius, safeguard by development. What's the core concept?
The fundamental idea is to build security right into the architecture from the get-go.
Baked in, not bolted on.
Exactly. They embed these things called reference monitors into the communication pathways between the AIs.
Okay, what do they do?
Think of them like traffic controllers for information. They regulate the message flow, stopping sensitive stuff from going where it shouldn't.
So, like, built-in privacy firewalls between the AIs. How did they actually implement this?
Well, 𝗏𝗏 and their colleagues integrated MERIS into AutoGen.
Oh, right, the popular framework for building these multi-agent systems.
That's the one. And they tested it in scenarios where privacy is critical healthcare, obviously, but also things like supply chains and personalized recommendations.
And did it work?
Their findings suggested that, yeah, MERIS effectively boosted privacy without significantly slowing things down.
That's key, the performance aspect.
Right. It suggests it could be a really practical way to build more secure, collaborative AI systems in healthcare and other fields, too.
Okay, so from the quantum realm to these architectural safeguards, protecting health data is clearly a huge driver. Let's shift gears now to another really exciting area, large language models, LLMs, in healthcare.
Yes, the LLMs.
They seem to be everywhere. These models that understand and generate human language, they could potentially revolutionize clinical decision-making, right? And how we process medical info.
Absolutely. Their ability to handle text opens up so many possibilities for helping doctors and nurses in their daily work.
Like the work by 𝗏𝗏𝗄 𝗧𝗏 and his team on a lightweight clinical decision support system using QLoRA fine-tuned LLMs and retrieval augmented generation.
Another long title. But yeah, let's break down the key ingredients there.
Okay, so they built a system to help doctors make better decisions. They use something called retrieval augmented generation, or...
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Basically, imagine the LLM having access to a specific, up-to-date library, maybe hospital protocols or recent research.
Ah, okay.
When a question comes up, it retrieves relevant info from that library to help formulate a better, more grounded answer.
Got it. And they made it lightweight. How?
I used a relatively compact LLM, Llama 3.23b Instruct, and fine-tuned it efficiently using a method called QLoRA.
QLoRA, what's that do?
It's a clever technique, quantized low-rank adaptation. It lets you fine-tune these big models effectively, even if you don't have, like, supercomputer resources.
Okay, so making it practical for maybe smaller hospitals or clinics.
That's the idea. And 𝗧𝗏 and the team showed their system performed well on medical knowledge benchmarks, suggesting it has real potential to provide useful clinical suggestions.
And it's not just about diagnosis, is it? They mentioned other uses.
Exactly. Their research highlighted it could help predict disease likelihood, suggest treatment options, or even summarize those long, complex medical reports quickly.
That summary part alone sounds incredibly useful.
Totally. Now, they do stress the need for, addressing privacy, thorough testing before deployment, the usual important caveats.
Of course.
But the efficiency of their approach points towards a way for even resource-limited settings to start using LLMs effectively.
That's a very practical step. Now, staying with LLMs, there's this growing need for open-source models in healthcare. 𝗏𝗏 and a large team tackled this with the Aloe Family recipe for open and specialized healthcare LLMs.
Right, the Aloe models.
Why is open source so important here?
Well, transparency is a big one. Open source lets researchers and clinicians actually see how the model works, maybe tweak it for specific needs.
You can look under the hood.
Exactly. 𝗏𝗏 team really focused on creating high-performing, openly available LLMs trained specifically for healthcare.
What did that involve, their recipe?
It covered optimizing data prep and training, but also really focusing on safety and effectiveness, using techniques like DPO, direct preference optimization.
Okay.
And 𝗟RAG, which we just talked about. They also developed really rigorous ways to test model performance and, crucially, safety.
And the results, the Aloe models.
The Aloe beta models they produced, they perform competitively on healthcare benchmarks. And importantly, doctors often prefer their outputs in evaluations.
And the safety aspect.
They showed improved safety, resisting attempts to generate harmful content. By releasing these openly, with detailed risk assessments specific to healthcare, they've made a really valuable contribution.
That emphasis on safety is absolutely critical. Now, LLMs aren't just understanding text, they're getting better at generating it too. 𝗏𝗏 Liu and team reviewed this in natural language generation in healthcare.
Yeah, NLG. This is a big review looking at over 100 papers.
What were they trying to understand?
They looked systematically at what kind of medical data is used, what model architectures work best, the clinical applications being explored, and importantly, how people are evaluating the quality of the generated text.
What were the key takeaways?
They really highlighted the huge potential of NLG, especially with modern LLMs, to do things like streamline workflows, summarize complex info to support decisions, and just improve medical documentation overall.
Sounds like a time saver and potentially a quality booster.
It does. Their review is basically a roadmap for where future NLG research in healthcare should probably focus.
Okay, but here's a challenge. Medicine evolves constantly. How do you keep these LLMs up to date without constantly retraining them, which is super expensive?
That's a huge problem. Anish Ganguly, Prabal Deb, and Deblina Banerjee tackled exactly this with MARC, Memory Augmented Refinement of Knowledge.
𝗏𝗏𝗄. Okay. Continuous learning without retraining. How does that work?
It's quite clever. MRK is sort of inspired by how our own minds organize and retrieve information. It uses a structured, refined memory.
A memory component.
Yeah, and specialized AI agents. These agents work together constantly storing new info, analyzing it, refining it based on new inputs or user interactions, resolving conflicts.
So it's actively managing its knowledge base.
Exactly. It helps the LLM stay current, provide more accurate answers over time, and potentially reduce hallucinations generating incorrect information.
Which is critical in medicine.
Absolutely. It also helps adapt the LM to specific medical fields and could lead to more personalized AI assistance.
That sounds really innovative, keeping models sharp. Now, another vital piece is clinical reasoning. How well can these LLMs think through complex medical scenarios?
Right, beyond just knowing facts. Junwoo Kim and a large group of researchers dug into this using real-world data from a big sepsis registry.
Sepsis, okay. What did they find?
Well, they recognize that while LLMs know a lot generally, they often lack deep exposure to the messy details of real clinical data, partly due to privacy issues.
Makes sense.
So they created reasoning-heavy questions based on this large, anonymized sepsis registry. Then they fine-tuned a powerful model, 𝗙𝗃, specifically on these questions.
And the result?
The resulting model, which they called 𝗓cie_reason, showed significantly better clinical reasoning on sepsis tasks. This was judged both by automated tests and by expert doctors.
Okay, so it got better at sepsis reasoning. Did that improvement carry over to other things?
Yes, and that's the important part. 𝗓𝗄reason's better reasoning transferred. It did better on a different sepsis data set, on antibiotic consultations, and even showed improved reasoning for other diseases too.
So fine-tuning with this kind of targeted real-world reasoning data can make the model smarter overall.
It strongly suggests that, yes. It leads to more robust and generalizable clinical reasoning.
Fascinating. Now, sometimes the best approach isn't just one type of AI, but combining strengths. Paul Landis, Jimeng Sun, and Adam Cross did this for predicting social determinants of health, right?
Yeah.
SDOH.
Exactly. SDOHs, things like socioeconomic status, education, living conditions, they have a massive impact on health outcomes.
Right.
Their research looked at automatically pulling this information out of clinical text. They compared traditional deep learning methods with LLMs using a public data set.
And what did they find? Which worked better?
Models that combined both LLMs and traditional deep learning actually performed best, beating previous benchmarks for classifying multiple SDOHs from doctors' notes.
Interesting. A hybrid approach.
Yeah. And they also found a way to make the process much faster, like up to 12 times faster, by being smart about how much they relied on the computationally heavy LLMs.
Speed and accuracy, the holy grail.
Pretty much. They effectively combined the LLM's knack for understanding complex text with the efficiency of older deep learning methods.
Any other surprising findings?
Well, interestingly, they found that traditional deep learning models trained purely on artificially generated data could sometimes even outperform the LLMs on this specific task.
Really? Trained on synthetic data?
Yeah, it highlights the potential power of data augmentation. Overall, their work offers strategies for building faster, more accurate tools to spot SDOHs, which is vital for tackling health inequities.
Okay, so we've seen the power of LLMs, how they can be combined, kept up to date. Let's dive into another huge area, medical image analysis. AI is making incredible strides here.
Absolutely. But creating good synthetic medical images, say for training AI, that's tough. You often lack enough labeled examples of specific diseases, and the imaging techniques themselves are complex.
Which brings us to 𝗂𝗏 𝗧cie_𝗪 and his team's work. 𝗧CTR, Vital Consistency Transfer for Pathology-Aware Image Synthesis. 𝗧TR, what's the core idea?
𝗧TR is a pretty sophisticated two-stage AI framework. It's designed to generate highly realistic medical images that accurately show specific conditions.
How does it work?
It combines a technique called rectified flow trajectory with something called a Tweedy-corrected diffusion process. Don't worry too much about the names.
Okay, good.
But essentially, in stage 1, it learns basic anatomy from a large data set.
Yeah.
Then in stage 2, it's fine-tuned to generate images of specific diseases, like liver cirrhosis, with really precise control over how severe the condition looks.
Precise control. And the results, were they realistic?
Extremely. On tests with CT and MRI scans, 𝗧TR achieved state-of-the-art results for generating images of things like cirrhosis, beating existing methods significantly.
Wow.
And here's the kicker. When they use these synthetic 𝗧TR images to train other AI models for tasks like image segmentation, those models perform better. And even expert radiologists looked at the generated liver cirrhosis MRIs and found them clinically indistinguishable from real scans.
Indistinguishable to experts. That's That's remarkable, a major leap in synthetic medical data.
It really is. Big potential for research and training.
Okay, another vital imaging area, the fetal brain via MRI. There's been a big push to advance AI here, like the 𝗧𝗏 2024 challenge.
Yes, the Fetal Tissue Annotation Challenge, a huge international effort. This year, besides the usual task of segmenting brain tissues,
Right, identifying the different parts.
they added a new challenge, predicting key biometric measurements of the fetal brain from the images.
Like size and shape measurements.
Exactly. They also included data from lower-cost, low-field MRI scanners and expanded how the AI algorithms were evaluated.
What were the main takeaways from that challenge?
Well, the segmentation algorithms performed consistently well on both high-field and the cheaper low-field MRIs. That's good news for accessibility.
Yeah.
But there's a hint we might be reaching a sort of ceiling on segmentation accuracy with current methods. The new evaluation metrics picked up subtle shape differences that older metrics missed.
Interesting. So getting more nuanced.
Right. And surprisingly, the low-field MRI data actually produced the best segmentation results overall.
Really? The cheaper scanners?
Yeah, suggesting that combining accessible imaging with smart AI could be very powerful.
What about the biometry prediction, the new challenge?
That proved much harder. Most algorithms didn't do much better than simply estimating based on the baby's gestational age.
So that's still a work in progress.
Definitely. The big takeaway seemed to be that the quality of the input MRI scan is still the most critical factor determining how well these AI models generalize to new data.
Okay, so image quality is paramount. Now let's move to the heart. 𝗕𝗿 and colleagues developed a platform called 𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃.
Yes, 𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃, an intelligent platform for cardiac image segmentation and classification. It's a web-based platform designed for automated analysis of 4D cardiac images. So, videos of the beating heart and classifying heart conditions.
What is it designed for?
Potentially patients, cardiologists, other healthcare pros. It uses an AI model trained on a public cardiac MRI dataset.
What can it do?
It automatically segments the key heart structures, the ventricles, the myocardium, the heart muscle itself, and classifies the images into 5 diagnostic categories. Things like dilated cardiomyopathy, heart attacks, etc.
And it was...
Yes, demonstrated high accuracy in both segmentation and classification. Plus, it offers features like real-time visualization, potential integration into workflows, even AI-assisted diagnostic suggestions.
Sounds like a very practical tool aiming to make a real difference in cardiac care.
That seems to be the goal, yeah. A scalable solution.
Now, sometimes the challenge isn't building new models, but adapting the really big existing ones for specific tasks. Yudo Nakamura's team did this for angiographic images, right?
Exactly. 𝗥𝗃-VLM, fine-tuning of a large-scale model to recognize angiographic images. They focused on coronary angiography, those X-ray videos used to look at heart arteries.
Crucial diagnostic tool. What was their approach to adapting these large models, vision language models, VLMs?
Right, they developed a 2-stage process. First, they trained a more traditional AI model just to figure out the camera angle or viewpoint of the angiogram.
Right.
Second, they took several big VLMs models that understand both images and text, like Google's Gemma, and fine-tuned them using 𝗨𝗏, another efficiency technique.
𝗨𝗏 again.
On a specialized dataset they created of angiograms paired with medical reports.
What did the fine-tuning teach the models?
It allowed the model to learn how to generate clinical reports and even suggest treatments directly from the angiogram images. Their best model showed that careful fine-tuning really can help cardiologists interpret these complex images.
Okay, so adapting big models works. We talked about generating synthetic images of diseases like cirrhosis. What about for specific needs, like studying brain tumors?
Zindu and team looked at that. Revolutionizing brain tumor imaging. Generating synthetic 3D FA maps from T1 weighted MRI.
FA maps. What are those again?
Fractional anisotropy maps. They show details about the brain's white matter tracts which tumors can affect, but getting good FA maps directly isn't always easy, or they might not align well with other MRI scans.
Got it. So their solution.
They used an AI approach called 𝗖𝗄𝘁 to generate these FA maps directly from standard, common T1 weighted MRI scans, even in areas affected by tumors.
Generating one type of scan from another.
Essentially, yes. Their model produced highly realistic FA maps, confirmed by technical measures and also by radiologists who reviewed them.
And the potential benefit.
It could improve clinical workflows, potentially reducing the need for patients to undergo additional specialized FA scans, making things more efficient.
That could definitely ease the burden. Now, Another angle on generating medical images, using the patient's specific characteristics, their phenotypes.
Yes, 𝗧cie and colleagues presented a phenotype-guided generative model for high-fidelity cardiac MRI synthesis. Their framework is called CPGG.
Phenotype guided, how does that work?
It uses observable characteristics from cardiac MRI, scans the phenotypes to help train a generative AI model. This model then uses another AI technique to create highly realistic cardiac MRI videos.
What's the advantage of using phenotypes to guide it?
It allows the framework to generate a wider, more diverse, more representative range of synthetic heart MRI data, covering more variations in heart health.
More comprehensive training data.
Exactly. And they showed that using this richer synthetic data to train other AI models significantly improved their performance on tasks like diagnosing heart conditions or predicting those cardiac characteristics.
So better synthetic data leads to better downstream models. Makes sense.
It seems these synthetic data generation techniques are getting really powerful.
Definitely. Okay, shifting slightly within imaging. How can we improve how well vision language models classify biomedical images specifically?
Weipeng and team tackled this with BioMed-DPT, dual modality prompt tuning for biomedical vision language models. They use prompts that involve both text and visual cues.
Dual modality prompting, how does that work?
It's about carefully crafting the inputs. For text, they combine standard clinical descriptions with more sophisticated prompts generated by other LLMs trained on medical knowledge.
Okay, smart text prompts. What about the visual part?
They use a subtle technique, basically manipulating parts of the image representation to guide the AI's attention towards the most relevant areas of the image itself.
Guiding its focus visually.
Exactly. And their BioMed-DPT approach resulted in better classification accuracy across various types of biomedical images compared to other methods.
Interesting technique. Finally, in this imaging section, AI analyzing pathology slides using video.
Yes, this is really cool. 𝗏𝗏 Wang and 𝗔𝗱𝗃 Kwok introduced 𝗕𝗿𝗏𝗶𝗵𝗵 pathology diagnostic reasoning through video instruction tuning.
𝗕𝗿𝗏𝗵, a sophisticated model for pathology videos.
Right. It integrates information from single snapshots, key video frames, and even manually annotated video segments to reason about a diagnosis.
How does it learn from video? Is there enough data?
That's a challenge. Okay. They created a new data set, VideoPath Instruct, pairing video clips with diagnostic info. But to overcome data limitations, they use transfer learning.
Meaning?
They first trained the model on much larger data sets of still pathology images, then fine-tuned it specifically on their video data. It kind of transfers the knowledge.
Clever.
𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗵 sets a new benchmark for analyzing pathology videos, paving the way for AI that combines visual understanding with diagnostic reasoning in this area.
Amazing progress, from static images to dynamic videos in pathology. Okay, we've seen AI analyzing data and images. What about enhancing diagnostic accuracy and, crucially, making AI diagnoses explainable?
Yes, explainability and trust are paramount. Khaled Saab and a huge team explored this with advancing conversational diagnostic AI with multimodal reasoning.
Oh.
They upgraded their AI system, AI.
AME, right. What's new?
It can now gather and interpret multiple types of data images, ECGs, PDF reports, using advanced models like Gemini 2.0 Flash and a really smart dialogue system.
So it can handle a mix of inputs like a real doctor would. How did it compare to human doctors?
They did a rigorous study like a medical school exam with actors as patients. Specialist physicians evaluated AIE against primary care doctors.
Right.
AME actually outperformed the human doctors on many measures, including diagnostic accuracy, especially in cases that required integrating that multimodal data.
Outperform doctors. Wow.
It's a significant step forward for conversational AI and medical diagnosis.
Truly impressive. But a key part of diagnosis is handling uncertainty. Zhuangzhu and team looked at this. Uncertainty-aware large language models for explainable disease diagnosis.
Yes, very important work. They developed 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, an LLM fine-tuned not just to diagnose, but specifically to identify and explain when it's uncertain.
Why is that so important?
Recognizing uncertainty is critical to avoid misdiagnosis. If the AI knows what it doesn't know, that's incredibly valuable.
Makes sense. Did 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 work well?
They tested it on real medical data and found it was better at identifying diagnostic uncertainty, still achieved high accuracy overall, and importantly, could provide trustworthy explanations for both its diagnoses and its uncertainties.
Trustworthy explanations. That's key for clinical adoption.
Absolutely. A vital step towards more reliable and transparent AI diagnostic tools.
The ability for AI to say, I'm not sure about this part, is essential. Okay, finally in this section, using feedback to refine AI models for medical research insights.
Right. 𝗤𝗏 𝗪 and colleagues presented FRAME, Feedback Refined Agent Methodology for Enhancing Medical Research Insights.
Frame. What does it do?
It's designed to help AI language models generate better quality medical research papers. It uses a structured way to analyze existing papers and then employs 3 AI agents working together.
3 agents. Doing what?
One generates content, another evaluates it based on specific metrics, and a third agent, the reflector, uses that feedback to guide the generator to improve the text iteratively.
A feedback loop with specialized agents. What were the results?
Their experiments showed FRAME significantly boosted the quality of AI-generated medical papers, bringing them closer to human-authored work, especially in suggesting future research directions.
So AI helping AI write better science.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It suggests a powerful way to use AI to assist in the research process itself.
Okay, wow. We have covered so much ground today. From the specifics of AI in imaging and diagnostics, AMI, video path 𝗧𝗏, to privacy concerns addressed by Quantum and Maris.
And the huge impact of LLMs, like the Aloe models, 𝗧cie_𝗪 improving clinical thinking, MR-Care enabling continuous learning.
Right, and combining LLMs with other methods for things like SDOH prediction. It's a vast landscape. Let's maybe zoom out a bit now and look at the even broader picture.
Sounds good. One really exciting trend is Vision Language Action Models, VLAs. Ranjan Sapkota and colleagues reviewed these in Vision Language Action Models.
VLAs, what's the big idea there? What are they aiming for?
VLAs are a move towards more versatile AI. The goal is to integrate vision, seeing the world with language understanding, and the ability to take physical actions based on that understanding, all in one system.
Perceive, understand, act.
Exactly. Sapkota's review covers the concepts, the progress in building and training them, and their potential applications: robotics, self-driving cars, but also maybe medical robotics, industrial uses.
So AI that can interact with the physical world more effectively.
That's the direction. The review also hits the challenges: real-time control, scaling up, ethics, and points towards future research.
It feels like a step towards more general-purpose AI. This also ties into multiple AIs working together, right? Embodied AI.
Precisely. Xiaohan Feng and co-authors reviewed multi-agent embodied AI. Early work focused on single embodied agents, but now there's a shift towards teams of AIs collaborating in complex changing environments.
Like robot teams.
Could be, yeah.
Oh.
The review looks at where this research stands, the key breakthroughs, the big challenges, and where this field of collaborative embodied AI might be heading.
Okay, one last area. With the absolute flood of health documents and research papers, how can AI help us make sense of it all, synthesize the knowledge?
Retrieval augmented generation, 𝗟𝗏, which we touched on earlier, is a key technique here. Mario Surises and team specifically evaluated it for health documents.
What did their evaluation find?
They built a testing pipeline and benchmark dataset, 𝗟𝗁𝗲𝗏, to see how well RAG works for pulling knowledge from healthcare docs and scientific papers.
And the verdict?
Their conclusion was that if you implement 𝗟𝗏 carefully, it can really minimize common LLM problems like making things up.
Hallucinations, yeah.
And holds huge potential for tasks like supporting policy decisions by quickly summarizing relevant information from mountains of text.
So a powerful tool for knowledge synthesis in health. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. To recap, we've seen AI across this incredible spectrum in healthcare, enhancing diagnosis with AMI and Confidence,
boosting privacy with quantum ideas and safeguards like Maris, streamlining research with FRAME,
the power of LLMs like Aloe, 𝗧cie_𝗪, and MR-K, amazing leaps in medical imaging, fetal brain analysis, and telecardiac, those incredible synthetic images from 𝗧𝗏cie_𝗪.
And 𝗏𝗏 for angiography, phenotype-guided generation, biomed DPT, improving classification.
Plus better data security and knowledge management with RAG. It's really covered a lot.
And some truly eye-opening moments, right? AI interpreting complex medical videos like video path 𝗟𝗏 does, generating training data so realistic it fools doctors. Maybe even offering personalized mental health support down the line.
Yeah.
All while constantly needing to think about security, ethics, and rigorous validation. That's key.
Absolutely. And for you listening, what could this mean for your future healthcare interactions? How will technologies like biomed DPT for image analysis or MR keeping AI knowledge current actually integrate into clinics?
Good questions.
We definitely encourage you to explore these areas more. We'll put links to all the papers and other resources in the show notes.
And as we finish, maybe one final thought to ponder. As AI keeps weaving itself deeper into healthcare, with tools like 𝗥𝗏 analyzing angiograms or AI generating synthetic data, how do we collectively ensure these incredibly powerful tools are used responsibly?
Right. and equitably so they benefit everyone in society?
Exactly. It's a huge question, and one that needs our ongoing attention and really thoughtful consideration
Right.
as this technology continues to race forward.